This podcast is sponsored by TalkSpace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and TalkSpace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at TalkSpace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to TalkSpace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, TalkSpace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with TalkSpace when you go to TalkSpace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to TalkSpace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
There are a lot of things that a lot of people are doing in the world that I just want to help out with. My whole goal through all of this was to help others. It's been kind of my number one drive going into getting the surgery. And since, it's been finding some way to use my situation to help someone else. I didn't know what that looked like. I still don't know that I have a clear picture of that. I just try every day to think about a way in which I can better someone else.
Welcome back to the Dr. Phil podcast. I have a very interesting and special guest today. Noland Arbaugh is the first human recipient of Neuralink's brain-computer interface, BCI. It's an implant and a groundbreaking technology that has given him a new lease on life after a tragic accident left him paralyzed. He has become a symbol of hope and innovation for many, and not just because of the brain-computer interface implant, but because he is a remarkable young man. Today, he's going to talk to us about his journey, the incredible technology behind Neuralink, and what the future holds for brain-computer interface. And I want to talk to Noland and Eve, which is the name for the implant. Really interested, before we talk about the implant, I want to just get to know Noland. So Noland, it's good to meet you. Thank you for taking time to talk to us.
No, I realize you're a much busier man than I am, so I appreciate you, y'all reaching out and you taking the time to talk with me. It's great to meet you as well.
Well, thank you. Tell me where you live now.
I live in Yuma, Arizona.
Yuma, Arizona.
Yes, sir. I'm right on the border of California and Mexico.
All right. And you're 30 years old now, right?
Yes, sir. I will turn 31 in a little over a month.
All right, good. Now, in 2016, and this was the summer before your last year in college, you were working as a summer camp counselor. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So I had just finished my senior year of college, but I was a pretty bad student, so I would have had to take a little bit more time in order to get my degree. And I was working at a summer camp in the Pocono Mountains.
Yeah, what were you studying?
Political science. It was technically international studies, politics, and diplomacy. So nothing super useful. I was planning on trying to go to law school. But like I said, I was a pretty bad student, so I don't know if anyone would have taken me.
Yeah. Are you still interested in political science and law school?
I am. I would love to do it at some point. I'm not sure what that looks like now. It's a little hard for me to go back to school. With Neuralink, I think it's definitely possible, but I don't know what the future holds. So, God willing, we'll see. We'll see where He wants me, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. It's been 12 years since your accident, and you got the Neuralink 14 months ago, correct?
So my accident was almost 9 years ago.
9 years ago?
I was 22. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then, yeah, about 14 months ago, March 28th, so in a couple days.
Tell me what difference it's made since you got the implant, and what's been the learning curve and how it's changed things for you. It's certainly made a difference, but I'm curious how you describe the difference, what the learning curve has been. Just kind of educate me about all of that.
So the learning curve was very simple. I followed some graphics on a computer, a little animation of a hand moving up and down, press your finger, open, close your hand. And obviously, I can't do those actions, but uh, I can still attempt them. And so I would just do that, and it would give me cursor control. After a while, it's like the implant is in my motor cortex. So all those signals are still working, and the learning curve was pretty easy, honestly. I think since I've been working with it and the other participants, it'll be much easier for everyone that comes after me. So I think at least my part, I did something, and it's made a huge difference in my life. There's so much that I'm able to do now that I wasn't able to do before. I think people take for granted what is possible on a computer. And for someone like me who isn't capable of doing a lot on my own, just having control of my computer has allowed me to communicate with people in the world in a way that I never thought that I would be able to do again. It's given me some more time wasting activities, I would say. I get to play some games. I can play around on the internet, do things like that. But more so, I can, we were just talking about school. There's a lot of hope for me to go back to school and a lot of hope for me to find work. I'm planning on going around and speaking this year. And so these are things that I never thought would be possible. Ultimately, it has given me a lot of hope. And I think that's the biggest difference in my life, giving me hope and purpose. And they're just not things that I thought would ever be possible.
Well, I can just imagine. Now, let's talk about this. Before you got the implant, you were having to control what you could control through a breathing device, right? You would breathe into a straw-like device, and that would put pressure. You could exhale into this straw, and it would provide pressure on pressure plates that would allow you to go forward. It would allow you to activate certain rudimentary devices, but you were able to control some things, correct?
Yes, sir. So there are a few different devices that I'd use. One of them right here is in my chair. This straw is, I think, what you're referring to.
Right.
It has allowed me to use a chair and get around. So I blow into it and I suck into it. It's called a sip and puff. I like to call it a suck and blow. And it's just air pressure. It's something that I can get around with in my chair. I blow into it pretty hard and it goes forward. I suck into it hard and it goes backward. I blow into it a little softer and it goes right. And I suck into it softer and it goes left. And then I had like a mouth stick. So I had a little stick that I would hold in my mouth that I could click on a tablet with. And then I had another device called a quad stick, which is also air pressure and
Right.
had a little joystick on it. And I could connect to a computer and different games and stuff like that. But they're all pretty hard to use, and it wasn't my favorite thing.
Right. And how did you learn about Neuralink?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it before I applied. One of my buddies called me up on the phone one day and asked if I wanted to get a chip in my brain. I said I'd got nothing better going on. He gave me sort of a 5-minute rundown of what Neuralink was. And, it all seemed pretty exciting. I didn't have any sort of expectations. I didn't think that they would um, reach back out to me. I had applied for some studies previously and I'd never heard back. So I made a lot of jokes on my application and I'm not sure what they saw in that application or what they saw in me, but it all worked out.
And what was involved in putting the implant into your brain?
So there was a surgery that I did in Phoenix. Neuralink created a robot as well, a surgical robot. And so my surgery was both novel in using the chip, the actual Neuralink chip, but also being the first person to be implanted with use of this surgical robot. And it was supposed to be between 3 and 6 hours. It ended up being closer to 2 hours. I think it was just under 2 hours. They cut a hole in my skull, a craniectomy, and then they had the surgical robot take the threads and implant them in my motor cortex, 64 threads. And then a surgeon came in and mounted the chip to my skull and um, put the flap of skin back over. So it's completely underneath my skin, and I have a bunch of hair now. So it grew over, and you honestly can't even tell it's there.
You know, coming home and slipping into my Cozy Earth pajamas and crawling into bed with their ridiculously soft sheets has transformed my nights into the most relaxing part of my day, all because of Cozy Earth. The Cozy Earth sheets are breathable, so I sleep cooler, and the fabrics are durable. If you haven't tried Cozy Earth yet, you're missing out on what feels like a 5-star hotel at home. With a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty, you've got absolutely nothing to lose. Luxury is in reach. Visit CozyEarth.com and use my code PHIL for up to 40% off sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. If you get a post-purchase survey, tell them you heard about Cozy Earth from the Dr. Phil podcast. Sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth. Your body is a system, and when it's running right, you feel focused, energized, in flow, but sometimes we struggle to find that flow state. Why? Because there's too much static in our system, brain fog, fatigue, and inflammation. The Echo Flask clears the static by infusing your water with molecular hydrogen, a natural science-backed gas that helps your body think sharper, recover faster, and run smoother. This is more than hydration. It's better focus, more energy, faster recovery, less internal stress, and longer-term benefits that keep you sharp. When your water works harder, your whole system does too. Find your flow state with the Echo Flask hydrogen water bottle and get an unlimited supply of hydrogen water at home and on the go. Visit echowater.com/Phil and use code PHIL for 10% off. That's echowater.com/Phil. Enter code PHIL to save 10%. So the chip is actually under the skin but outside the skull, and then all of the threads go down into the brain.
The chip is mounted to my skull. It's pretty flush with my skull. It's fairly small, so it's about the size of a quarter, and the skin just goes right over it, and all of the threads are in place. The surgeon that looked at my brain as the surgical robot was implanting the threads said he'd never seen a brain less traumatized from a brain surgery. So there's a lot of hope that this surgical robot can perform a lot of surgeries and help a lot of people outside of just Neuralink.
Oh, great. Okay, so now when you came out of the surgery, what was the first thing you were able to do that you couldn't do before, and what was that experience?
One of the first things that I did after the surgery was connect to a tablet. Neuralink employees came in, they woke up my implant for the first time. They connected it to a tablet and showed me some of the channels. What I mean by channels are there are 16 electrodes on each thread, and each one of those electrodes is a channel. And I could see real time my neuron spikes. Those electrodes were picking up neuron spikes close by. They found some of the stronger signals, and I was able to in real time see affect some change in my neurons. So I started wiggling my fingers and I could see, little spikes going up and down. And I thought it was great. So I said, oh, cool. And the Neuralink employees were like, what did you see? And I told them, okay, look at this square and watch what happens. And I'd wiggle my right index finger and there was a big yellow spike, and everyone sort of freaked out. They were all really, really excited. My buddy started up a clap. He was clapping for the Neuralink employees, but they were all clapping for me. It was really uncomfortable. I said it's definitely not necessary, but that was one of the first things that we did. And then, over the next 2 weeks, I was learning, I guess, teaching the algorithm what my intentions were. And maybe on day 10, I got full cursor control for the first time and broke the previous BCI world records. Just goes to show how impressive this chip is.
When you say cursor control, you can, with your mind, you can take what a mouse would do and you can move that cursor, the arrow, on the tablet screen or the computer screen or whatever it might be that you're interfacing with, and you can move it on the screen and click on something.
Yes, sir. That's basically what happens. I can move a cursor at a pretty average proficiency, I would say, and click just the same on a computer. The reason I'm able to use the computer is just because of an app that Neuralink developed, and this app can be uploaded on different devices. I think that, moving forward, they could upload this app on just about anything with the Bluetooth connection because that's what Neuralink uses. And, you know, today, all sorts of devices are Alexa compatible. I think in the future, everything will be Neuralink compatible, but we'll see how that goes.
All right, so you say you're able to play games. Tell me what you can do. What can you play?
So it's pretty rudimentary at this point. I don't think that we're at a level where people might think that it's at. I'm not able to play super complicated games with a lot of different controls. I have fairly limited control, a few clicks and cursor control. So I play some games like they're called real-time strategy games. One of my favorites is called Civilization. I play a lot of chess. I played chess before Neuralink with a little mouse stick, but I'm able to do that a lot better and a lot more comfortably. I play a lot of different games online. Pretty simple games, point and click games, card games, things like that. But there are some other more complicated ones that I would like to play, and I think Neuralink just needs to figure out a few things, and then we'll be there.
If you're reading a book and you want to highlight a line in the book, can you do that?
Yes, sir. I have what we call a mode switcher. So the mode switcher lets me go into different sort of cursor functions, click and drag, scroll, zoom, things like that, things you might do with a little scroll wheel on a mouse. I just hop into that and then it lets me say like click and drag and I can go and do a book and highlight it. And it's only because Neuralink has had some issues with like holding clicks. So I can click on things, but there seems to be a lot of noise when it comes to like clicking and holding and doing different things around that. So they've had to give me a mode switcher, but I can still do a lot of stuff with that, like highlighting lines in a book, which I do pretty often.
That's amazing. So if you've got a streaming service on your computer, like Netflix or Amazon, can you open that up, click on a movie and watch it?
Yes, sir. That's pretty simple. If I use the internet, I can do just about anything on there. So opening up Hulu, I think I was watching some March Madness the other day
Oh,
on
yeah?
my computer.
So you can go to Merit TV and click on it and watch Dr. Phil and see this this interview that we're doing right now.
Yes, sir. I'm definitely going to be doing that. I will go and share it as well. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are really interested in this one. Some very close family friends have been really excited when I said that I was going to be talking with Dr. Phil. They were um, really interested. Their ears perked up. So, hi, Debbie. Hi, Lynn. Here I am. Um, it's all happening. So, yeah, it's pretty simple to do things like that.
All right, good. Well, hi, Debbie. Hi, Lynn. How you doing? He's looking pretty good, don't you think? So what's the next level? What is Neuralink telling you is the next likely level of function that they might be able to provide you, and what's the time frame?
One of the things that they're working on right now is working on getting me control of my chair with the Neuralink chip. Then I think that could be in the next couple of months. There's also a robot arm, and the Tesla Optimus robot, being able to control that completely. I think that I'm not sure what the time frame is. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years at most. Then there are a lot of other things I know that they are trying to get me control of. But moving down the road to more like future applications, you can implant a device in the motor cortex and then one below the level of a spinal cord injury, and it'll skip the break in the spinal cord and speak directly to each other, and you would be able to move again. That one is obviously a bit more complicated. They are working on it right now. They have a setup already in a pig, and I've seen some videos of that. I think you can find the videos. And that could be, 10, 20 years. I'm not sure how quickly these things will move. I know there's a lot of FDA regulations to get through and things of that nature, but I think that it's a real possibility, and that alone should give people in my situation a lot of hope.
Would that involve an exoskeleton, or would that use your actual bones and muscles of your body, or would it rely on an exoskeleton?
I don't think you would need an exoskeleton. I mean, I'm more than happy to have one if they want to send one my way. I'm sure it would help a lot with regaining control and helping your body adjust, because after so long with a spinal cord injury, you have a lot of muscle atrophy. So you might be able to control your body again, but your muscles are going to be incredibly weak, and there will be a lot of aches and pains in your body. So an exoskeleton would definitely help.
When my sleep was off, it felt like I couldn't show up as my best self. That's why I'm so excited to share something that makes a real difference: Beam's Dream Powder. Beam is proudly founded in America and run by people who share our values: hard work and integrity, and delivering results. It's a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend packed with ingredients shown to improve sleep, so you can wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day. Dream is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. Beam has already improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep, helping people across the country wake up and feel their best. Here's the deal. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of 40% off. Try their best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time. Go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Support an American company, invest in yourself, and start getting your best sleep tonight. Have you heard about the so-called silent tax? It could be the biggest threat to your savings in 2025. I'm talking about inflation. out of control prices, a shrinking dollar, and less buying power for hardworking people like you. I trust Preserve Gold to safeguard my accounts, and I urge you to do the same. They're the only precious metals company I recommend. What are you going to do to protect what's yours? Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free Precious Metals Guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue through 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil, that's DRPHIL, to 50505 today. Talk to me about this psychologically for a few minutes, if you will, because that's obviously one of my areas of study and interest. How has what has happened so far and what you have to look forward to, you said hope is a big thing. How has what's happened so far and what's on the horizon potentiality-wise, how has that affected your mental health, your mood and expectations? How has that impacted you psychologically?
I would say immensely positively. I've heard before that people who stay up late and sleep late the next day do so because they don't really have much to look forward to the next day, that there's nothing for them to get up for. There's not a whole lot of a reason to go to bed early and wake up. There's um, something there, I believe, and that's how I had lived for years before Neuralink. When I got the implant, I realized that I was going to bed earlier and waking up earlier. I think that just this idea of hope and purpose has changed my whole life. I think that people say that I smile more. To me, that kind of makes me reflect on what I was like before. I thought I was doing just fine. I didn't realize that um, I was any sort of, I don't know, sad person to be around. I didn't realize that I wasn't smiling that much, but I'll take their words for it. And it really has gotten me out more as well. I feel as if I can face people more. I feel like there is something for me to talk about now when I'm on the phone with people. Before, I think I avoided a lot of conversations because every time I talked with someone, I would just say, oh, well, same things are going on with me. Nothing has changed. Still paralyzed, still can't do anything. So nowadays, I have a lot of things that I can talk with them about. And I think that's changed how I interact with people in the world and just my friendships and how I move forward in the world, um, and how I've learned to accept more what my situation is and where this road may take me and the possibilities that are on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that because my interest in talking to you is not as a science project. That's not what interests me in talking to you. I mean, I suppose you're probably one of the most interesting people on the planet from the science project standpoint because of what you're learning to do and what you're probably going to do, and people are going to be tremendously interested in that. But when I ask you how it's affecting you, that is what's so intriguing to me, that you've been active before, up till 9 years ago, you've been active, you've been an athlete, you've had all these things that you've done before, and one of the things I've learned is that, self-image and body image tend to vary together. They shouldn't, but they do. I see it with people that become obese, for example. When their weight gets up and they don't feel good about themselves, then their self-image goes down. And they're not a worse person because they're overweight. They're not a better person when they lose weight. And my specialty when I practice, I focused a lot on brain and central nervous system. That was a specialty within my practice. And I used to make rounds a lot with a neurosurgeon and treated brain injuries, closed brain injuries and spinal cord injuries. And when I made rounds with this doctor, I always had this good facility for building rapport with patients. And I started, it was early in my practice, and I was making rounds with him, and I would go see these patients in the hospital, and I wasn't creating the rapport with them that I typically did with patients, and particularly with guys. I always bonded well with guys, and we were seeing a lot of men that were injured on the job, and I was commenting to him that I don't know if I'm doing something wrong because I'm not connecting with these guys as much as I normally do. And he said, well, pull up a chair next to the bed and sit down, dummy. And I said, what do you mean? He said, look, these guys are big, strong guys that have been working construction and, walking on skyscrapers and stuff like that. And now, they've had back injuries and maybe they're paraplegic or whatever. They can't stand up, and you're walking in 6'4", standing next to the bed, and it doesn't make them feel good about themselves. Sit down and see what happens. And the second I sat down next to the bed and got on the same level, everything returned to normal. I'm thinking, God, what am I thinking? And I really realized that body image and self-image do vary together. And as I say, they shouldn't. And once you realize that, and you can start changing your internal dialogue to recognize that you're the same human being. You got the same mind, you've got the same capacities, the same potentials that you did before. You just have to nurture that and feed that and set goals and compare yourself tomorrow to where you were today and the next day to where you were yesterday. You can start having purpose and drive. And it felt so good to hear you say that now you're waking up earlier, you've got things to talk about, you're not avoiding people, because you've got to require things of yourself, right? I mean, there's so much you've got to decide, what am I going to do between now and the end of the year? Because that time's going to go by whether you do something with it or not. You don't want to waste that time. You don't know what you'll be able to do by the end of the year or the end of next year. You got to start, using every bit of time that you've got. I can see how you could have hope and be excited again. I think it's great. I'm not saying you're in a great situation. It's terrible what happened to you, but now you've got some tools to work with, and who knows what'll happen in the next year, year and a half.
It definitely has changed, like I said, how I see myself. And I love the book Atomic Habits. There are some really good things in there that I've used, and I love Jordan Peterson and listening to him. And even before Neuralink, I was trying to get my life back together. Um, a couple years beforehand, I realized that I had just been lying around doing a whole lot of nothing for too long, and I wanted to change my life in a positive way. So I started working on things. I started trying to improve myself a little bit each day. I started taking responsibility for the fact that I was only hurting myself by not trying to accomplish more and see what I could do with my situation. I know that being paralyzed, being a quadriplegic sucks, but even from the beginning, I knew that sitting around and wallowing in that wasn't going to be useful. I'm not sure why I adjusted psychologically so quickly to my situation. at the beginning, I never really got very depressed. I know that people say that I'm smiling more now, but I always felt like I managed pretty well with my situation. And I don't know why that is. I really don't. And, I'm, like I said, I am going to be going around and speaking this year. And it's hard for me to give people any sort of advice or tell them about my situation when a lot of that I don't even understand. I don't understand why I managed to get through this without falling into the depths of despair as I've seen so many other people do. I saw it when I was in the hospital, the amount of people who just couldn't cope with it. I know that a lot of what I've been able to accomplish is because of my support system, because of my family and my friends. I think they deserve more credit than I do. I mean, I don't know that I deserve any credit, to be honest, but I think Neuralink definitely gave me more drive. Before, even though I was trying to improve myself, I kept hitting roadblocks because
Sure.
I couldn't find work. I was trying to find some way to not be a burden on my family and to contribute in some way. And every time I went to go find something to do, I just realized that I wasn't capable of it. I even went through like a disability website that put people in, places of work, and I didn't qualify for that. I wasn't able to meet certain standards, and so there were just a lot of things that kept me from moving forward. And with Neuralink, I see a lot of doors opening up, a lot of things that I can accomplish now. And so I've always been pretty driven. I've always seen things that I want and just gone after them. And Neuralink has given me the ability to fulfill some of those things, to actually accomplish them. So it's definitely been a huge impact on my life, to say the least.
You're absolutely seizing it, and you can inspire so many people with your attitude. And so you have a tool, Eve. You have the tool of the Neuralink, and you can challenge yourself every day to say, look, I'm a pioneer here. Nobody has a manual on how to use this and how to capitalize on it and make the most out of it. You can write the book on that and find ways that you can utilize that. And with artificial intelligence now and having the access to computer power, and you are you. You're still in there, and I believe in the continuity of ID. You're the same person you were when you were 2 and 3 years old. We form our personalities by the time we're 4, 5, 6 years old. That's there, that's intact. This is now just starting to give you some of the tools that lets you be who you are. And like you say, you're going to go do some speaking, and you've got a infectious smile. You're obviously very intelligent. I can tell by the way you put sentences together and use them. You'll be very charismatic in that role, and you got a great sense of humor. You should absolutely light things up with this and be excited about it. Would you like to go back to before the accident and have all those abilities? Of course. And maybe this technology will get you a lot of that back in time. But you are where you are now, so what's everything you can do with where you are? And with your attitude and personality, man, maximize everything you've got. It looks to me like you are well on the way to doing that. I think it's going to be exciting to do what you do, and I'm going to follow it closely. And anything I can do to help, I want to do it. And I know Elon, and I tell you, don't ever underestimate what he can come up with. You saw him land that rocket on a on the side of a driveway from outer space. I tell you, the guy is astounding in the things that he can do, and he's motivated and driven, and there's a great possibilities ahead, and just, obstacles are just things to overcome, and your attitude is going to take you a long way, and you're going to maximize these tools in ways that they will use your applications to inspire what they do next with Neuralink. You guys are a team, and this is going to work out really well. You're partners with them at this point, so I think this is going to go in a very interesting way, and I can't wait to see what you do with this, and I'm really proud to have met you. I can't tell you how much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been great getting to talk with you as well. And I feel the same way. I know that you are doing a my mom is here saying she's a huge fan of you as well.
Hello, Mom.
Yeah, he says hi. Um, so I'm really glad to have met you too. And I've followed a lot of what you're doing as well. And living on the border, I can appreciate a lot of it.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, and there are a lot of things that a lot of people are doing in the world that I just want to help out with. My whole goal through all of this was to help others. It's been kind of my number one drive
Yeah.
going into getting the surgery, and since it's been finding some way to use my situation to help someone else. I didn't know what that looked like. I still don't know that I have a clear picture of that. I just try every day to think about a way in which I can better someone else. I think a lot of that has to do with my faith as well. But, just being in this, I know people being in the study, I know people say that I'm a pioneer. People have said, "Oh, you're basically like the Neil Armstrong of BCI," and I don't see that at all. I really don't. I see myself as just one little cog in this machine. I think that my role in this is pretty small for what I believe that Neuralink has accomplished. I think they deserve all the credit. And I know that just being in this study in some way, it'll help the people who come after me. That was one of the things I said at the beginning with my surgery, was that if everything went horribly wrong, I know that they would learn something from it and they would be able to fix it so the people who come after me don't have to go through what I went through, even with the thread retraction.
Yeah, but you are doing it. And let me tell you, you could be sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, but you do have a smile on your face. You are thinking. You are helping others. You let them drill a hole in your head and put a bunch of threads in there, and you're working on it, and you're going to start telling people about it, and that is inspirational. And they are doing great work, and you're working. You're part of the team, and give yourself credit for that. And let's stay in touch, my friend. And I'll be watching for what you're doing, and we'll talk again and check back in and see how things are going. If you need anything at all, you get in touch with me, okay?
Yes, sir. The same for you. If you ever need me for anything, I am here and ready and willing. I'm more than happy to help out in any way I can.
All right, sounds great. I'll tell Elon that we spoke, and I'll stay in touch, and we'll keep a running dialogue going here. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
You bet. All right, Nolan, take care.
You too, Dr. Phil.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
This podcast is sponsored by TalkSpace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and TalkSpace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at TalkSpace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to TalkSpace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, TalkSpace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with TalkSpace when you go to TalkSpace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to TalkSpace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.